Hello and welcome back everyone to In My Shadow. This is part 9. We are approaching the final parts very quickly. I am so excited to see your reaction. I hope you will like this one. Let's go. Have you ever had struggles finding good Haikyuu merch or anime merch in general? Because I for sure did. It can be hard. But this shop offers amazing merch. Like, I'm literally obsessed with the Haikyuu merch. They have the cutest hoodies ever. Now, if you want to get 10% off, click the link in the description. They offer me a collaboration which is literally amazing. And you support my channel this way. So, win-win. Let's go. Atsumu wasn't sure how much time had passed when he came to. Already during the treatment of his face had the tiredness been overwhelming despite the pain. They had stopped the bleeding with sutures and medical glue. The knife had left a large cut from his right cheek over his nose into his left brow. Luckily, his eyes weren't damaged, and the section on his nose was more superficial, making medical glue sufficient as treatment. The other sections, however, had to be stitched back together. Facial wounds bleed a lot, so while they should heal fine, the amount of blood apparently wasn't surprising, and he had been given fluids to make up for the blood loss. Aside from that, he was being treated for mild hypothermia, which wasn't all that surprising. On a more positive note, the pain meds were definitely working. He was glad that a mild painkiller had been sufficient. The last thing he needed was for his senses to be all messed up after he was just done confirming that he hadn't been imagining things. He sat up with a groan and looked around. There was no clock in sight. Not that it would have helped much, considering he had no idea when he arrived at the police station, or what time it had been when Haru had poked him with a knife in his back. God, that all sounded insane. He almost laughed. Maybe his sanity did take a hit after all, but even the twitch of his lips pulled painfully at the stitches. He let his eyes roam through the room once more, noticing with a mix of relief and horror that he was alone. He hated being alone. Now and for the rest of his life, probably. He would cling to his boyfriends till the day he died. They'd have to be pried from his cold, dead hands. Never would he be so foolish again as he was today. Fuck. He needed to get back to them. And he needed to know how Suna was doing. It slowly came back to him how pale he looked in the ambulance. He wasn't even sure how he got injured, let alone how severe the injury was. Surely it couldn't have just been the shock. Not with Suna. He himself felt oddly calm right now, although the panic waited just at the edge of his conscious mind. He was certain of it. Perhaps it was the medication. Perhaps he had surpassed a mental threshold of things he could endure. He didn't care. His eyes strayed to the call button, and for a moment he still wondered if this was what they were meant for before he pressed it. A few minutes later, a nurse arrived, a police officer in tow. That was to be expected. Atsumu observed them calmly as they approached him. They weren't Haru, he reminded himself, and listened for their footsteps automatically to confirm. Good evening. My name is Saito. Is anything amiss? He shook his head slowly. Processing spoken words was still a bit challenging, but his brain started to catch up. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a simple bruise and 10 the worst you have ever experienced so far or can imagine, where would you rate your pain? Feel free to elaborate if necessary.
2 perhaps.
3 when I talk. Was I given local anesthesia? Yes, though in this specific instance it should already wear off. Do you feel lingering effects? Not really. The muscles in his face felt a little sluggish, but he could move them. Not that he particularly wanted to, since the pain also wasn't as dull. How long was I asleep? Just about an hour, so feel free to rest more. It looked like you had quite the troublesome night. Yes, regarding that, if you feel up for it, please answer some questions first. However, if you still feel dizzy or think your answers might not be reliable yet, it can be postponed. Accurate information is most important. Atsumu thought about that for a moment, then took a deep breath and braced himself. I can answer. I just have 2 more things to ask Saito-san. She nodded while taking a couple of notes, probably on the things he said before. First, is Suna okay? He came here with me. Your friend got lucky. Both of you did. He had a laceration in his abdominal area, a stab wound, but the blade missed any vital organs or artery. He had some internal bleeding, but the source was easily identifiable and could be stopped in surgery. He got out of surgery 10 minutes ago. His room is under surveillance as well, so you don't have to be concerned about his security. Relief flew through his veins, but it was dull like everything else. Still, he was glad. Shocked too, but mostly glad now that he knew Suna was safe. After I answer your questions, can I be discharged? I really need to go home and inform my partners. He had caused them enough grievances already. If they heard that he was in the hospital now, they'd probably die of a heart attack. It would be preferable if he could rest some more, but I'll inform a doctor to discuss it with you as soon as time allows for it. Arigato. He gave a small bow before turning his attention to the officer as she left. Kimura-san got a chair from the side and sat down while taking out a notepad and pencil. Can you tell me your full name? Miya Atsumu. My friend is Tsunade Entaro. We both play volleyball professionally. You can confirm it with a Google search. She nodded and proceeded. Her eyes were stormy grey and honest. She took things at face value, he was certain. Unless he gave her reason to believe he might mean anything else by what he said, she would take it as just that. Atsumu appreciated it. You arrived at the police station almost 90 minutes ago. What happened that brought you to that point? So he began explaining, starting at the after-game celebration and adding what happened before when it became relevant. Some details were lost in his panic, but most was a memory so sharp it was etched into his memory probably forever. Definitely in his nightmares. Can you describe the woman? A head shorter than me, light blue eyes. She had curly hair, light as far as I could tell, and freckles. He had to pause to breathe. The memory caused him to feel nauseous again. It constantly felt as though she was just behind him, breathing down his neck. She wore a hoodie with long sleeves she used to hide the cutter. It was dark, but I believe it was pastel yellow and pink. Anything else? I don't remember. That was plenty helpful already. Were there any witnesses to the events? No, not really. She avoided the more crowded routes, took us down roundabout ways. That was probably how Suna managed to catch up to us. I remember none during or after the actual attack. If at all, someone saw us walking down the street. Kimura-san nodded again and closed her notebook. She got up and put the chair back neatly into place. It reminded him of Sakusa, and immediately a sharp pain shot through his chest. He wanted to be with him so badly. No matter how traumatizing the night had been, Haro had broken into the house, multiple times probably. He needed to be home right now. He could imagine nothing safer than to hide in Aaron's arms and ignore the world around him. It clicked into place so suddenly he cursed his sluggish brain for not noticing sooner. His head snapped up, and for the first time since he awoke, a sensation pierced the invisible barrier. Fear. Wait, my bird friends, they could be in danger. She broke into our home before. She knew that. He had just explained to Kimura-san all about those instances. The officer halted, a serious expression on her face, and Atsumu's heart beat a bit better knowing that she was listening to him. She was taking him seriously. Your house is outside of the expected radius. However, I'll relay the information and make sure it is checked. No, I have to be there. Please, I have to go home. I need to be with them. She scanned him once more before a small smile spread on her face. I'll forward the information, and after we make sure it is safe and if the doctor discharges you, I'll bring you home. Given everything you just told me, you'll need police protection until the threat has been dealt with. A sigh of relief escaped his throat and he nodded. I'll be back in a moment. Grateful, he leaned back against the pillows. This was the best he could have hoped for after all of this. There was a tug at his hand, but Atsumu didn't move. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he still didn't feel the strength to get up again. Once he had fallen to the ground, it felt as though he was glued to it. Come on. Let's at least get in the car before we all get hypothermia. Komori tried to drag him once more toward the vehicle, and this time Atsumu at least tried to comply. On shaky legs, he followed his beloved to the car and let him maneuver him into the passenger seat before setting out to get the others, starting with Kita, who was closest to him. Kita-kun? Kita? He shook him slightly by his shoulders, and as if awakened from a trance, the glassy brown eyes found his, and Komori gulped. The pain within them was unbearable to look at, but he forced himself to face it as he tried to get through to him. We need to get in the car, now. It is late. We need to get home and out of the cold. Home. He echoed the word, though it sounded hollow. New tears fell, and Komori instantly felt his own throat close up again. But before he could urge him to see reason, Kita had already turned around and set out to get the other two. We need to go home. He nudged Aaron slightly in a soft attempt to get him to follow. Komori thought it would almost be impossible to convince his cousin to follow when Aaron simply lifted him into his arms. They walked to their car as though they had been told to walk to their own execution. Every bit of fight seemed to have left them. with the rain that began to drizzle down on them in tiny droplets. It looked like a funeral proceeding already, and Komori's stomach turned once more. He didn't even want to think about it. The fact that they'd have to have a funeral for Atsumu, it didn't seem real. It couldn't be real. He gulped on his grief forcefully. He needed to care for them. His family, both by choice and, in Sakusa's case, by blood. They had priority right now. At the car, Kita offered him the keys. Sorry, I don't think I can. Don't worry about it. I got it. They stepped inside, and once Komori was sure everyone was secure in their seat, he started the car and hesitated. At the other end of the bridge, a girl had appeared. Her curly hair framed her face in an unruly manner, veiling it even further until she took off the hood of her pastel hoodie. Steel blue eyes looked a little lost through the dark until they fell on his car. He couldn't quite read her expression from so far away. For a moment he considered she might have been here for the same reason Atsumu had been, and he wanted to step out quickly to stop her. There was no reason two people had to die here tonight. But just as he reached for the door, Kita's hand closed around his shoulder in an iron grip. Drive, now! Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like because it really helps the channel out in this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on the next. I hope you liked it. We're really nearing the end right now. It is only... Which part is this? No, it's only 3 more parts. Oh my god. Though I'm particularly curious now, tell me your theories on how this is gonna end, and tell me your favorite quote under the pinned comment. It would mean the world to me. Just like my nerdy neckos mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. I cannot talk anymore. I've edited for so long. Yes, here on my other social media, I'm most active on Chatty and of course here on YouTube. So check out the other videos here in the end cut. The algorithm loves that. Now have a wonderful and amazing day.
Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.